Hello and welcome, Exiles, to my Toxic Rain Necromancer. You heard that right. I am literally a Necromancer, and I'd be thinking, Necromancer, isn't that a minion build? Well, there's actually some pretty good synergy between Toxic Rain and Necromancer. So what I am building around here is specifically Corpse Pact is the main thing that carries, but the other nodes are pretty good too. So to start off with, Corpse Pact gives you a bunch of attack speed per corpse you consumed recently. That means in the last 4 seconds. Now, I decided this works pretty well just by putting on an ascendancy mark, a helmet that triggers a spell whenever you attack with a bow with a 0.3 second cooldown. And then if you put in Desecrate with Spell Cascade, you'll get 10 corpses. And then you can consume both a flesh offering and a bone offering. You can do like a dual offering, and those will consume. Now you'll notice if I use this technique to ramp my attack speed, and I were to go look at my Toxic Rain attack speed, you'll see normally I attack 4.67 times per second, which is pretty good attack speed. But if you consider the corpse consumption, you'll see that that attack speed ramps 8, 7, 8, 8.2, 8.4, 8.6. If I do my aura, I can probably get a little bit better. 8.7 attacks per second if I'm like fully ramped. Now, granted, when I'm moving around doing a map, I'm not going to ramp that high. I'm going to ramp maybe half as high, maybe get up to 6 or 7 attacks per second, maybe, sort of thing. But you can see the idea. This node ends up giving us a lot of attack speed, and that is quite powerful for an ascendancy point, but it doesn't just stop there. There's other synergies. For example, this Mistress of Sacrifice node is most notably good because it makes the offerings affect you, but oftentimes people don't consider this comes with 40% skill effect duration and 10% skill effect duration. If you know Toxic Rain, you know Toxic Rain damage scales quite well with skill effect duration, and this has 50% between these two nodes. So this is basically a dual effect node. I'm getting both bone offering and flesh offering. Now on this character, I was limited on gear, so I didn't end up getting offering effect. I think in an alternate version where I have a little bit more budget to work with, I probably would end up going for, what's the node called? Undertaker here, and probably go for offering effect here and consider going for an offering effect chest and actually get some really good block effect and attack and cast and movement speed from these two offerings. But I was on a budget, a 10D budget. I had to stick to that, right? And then on top of all that, the other nodes aren't bad either. This also gives Chill and Shock, which is cool. That scales with ailment effect if I get any on this on the tree, which is nice as well. And then on top of all that, we have Plague Bearer, which gives us 10% more damage, along with enemies dealing 10% reduced damage to us, as well as 30% AoE. The magic number for Toxic Rain, as far as I know, is 39% AoE. So this node plus a Toxic Rain that has 18 to 19 quality, so it says 9% AoE, will get you to the 39% AoE sort of like sweet spot, I guess. So that's pretty cool. And then last but not least, Commander of Darkness. It isn't the most overpowered node, but 30% damage, 30% all res, and then roughly around anywhere from 6 to 12%-ish attack speed, depending on how much aura effect you have and how many auras you have. That's not a bad node either. And then on top of all of that, we are also having the ability to steal the Chaos node from Witch, the Withering Presence. Now, normally, Withering Presence, you might think that's a really good node, but as far as Forbidden Flame and Flesh are concerned, there's not really a good use case. You don't really want to be an Elementalist and then steal the Chaos node. You don't really want to be a Necromancer and steal the Chaos node. This usually doesn't get stolen very much, so it was actually quite cheap for me to buy. I basically bought each one for a Divine each, which was 2 Divines on my 8D or my 10D budget, but well worth it because it gives me another source of Wither along with 15% more Chaos damage and Chaos res, and we also have Wither from Ritual of Shadows. So that is the idea behind Necro, and I actually think this build turned out fairly well. I'm pretty happy with it. This is one of those builds where I like testing out different things, and one of the things I wanted to test out was Corpse Pact in combination with ascendancy mark. Can this make a good character? And my opinion is right now, yeah, this makes a pretty good character considering how well this character performed when I played it. Now, granted, I tremendously played terrible last night. I actually failed 3 of the 7 fights, but my main takeaway from failing those fights is, man, did I play horrible. It was one thing led to another of me just doing stupid stuff, and it was a massive failure on my end. I think I go back into those fights, I probably can do each and every one of the fights I did fail, except for probably Cirrus. Cirrus is always a crap show for me, but anyways, that's besides the point. Outside of that, we go for defensive layers. We go for suppress cap on our character. We get to 100% suppression. I think we're like actually at I want to say like 98 or something. 99 suppression without the 10% when on full life or whatever. I think that's still pretty solid if you ask me. And then we have defensive layers, 26k evasion with Jade Flask. Without Jade Flask, we're at 20k evasion. We have Divine Flesh plus Doppelgangers. That gives us 40% less damage taken from Fizz and 40% less damage taken from Chaos, and half the damage is split over to Chaos. It works out pretty decently. The biggest weakness of this character, I would say, is we only have 4k life. I think that's a bit on the low end, but I think it's more of a matter of we're really strict on budget, and I was just trying to fit every little piece in, and I just barely got there. That being said, I ended up going 50 Chaos over my 10 Divine budget, but in my defense, I got so screwed. I was basically trying to custom corrupt a level 21 with 18 quality. I corrupted 13 gems, not a single one went to level 21, which isn't the worst odds. It's a 1 in 8, so I only got slightly screwed, but it still was like, man, I wasted so much budget when I could have just bought a level 21 20 for like 50 Chaos. Instead, I ended up spending a Divine and a half of my budget to not have a single one go to level 21, so that felt a little bit bad. But besides that point, I think the character turned pretty well. It turned out pretty well altogether. Now, I'll go ahead and give you guys a bit of a showcase of what this looks like while mapping. I also want to say my flasks aren't really well optimized. I was basically out of the budget by the time I got to flasks, so I just chucked on some random flasks, just ones that I normally would want to go for. Quicksilver because movement speed, phasing because it sucks to get stuck on monsters. I actually decided to add this in later after the stream. I thought about it a little bit. I'm like, you know, if I'm going to recommend this build to people, I think phasing is super important when you're running a bow type character or any side type of character where you have to like walk through mobs. It just gets annoying to get stuck on things. And Toxic Rain is a bit of a delayed damage, so you definitely have to walk through monsters every now and then. You don't instantly explode them like you do with the crit build. So I ended up adding this in later. I thought that's probably a good idea to do. And yeah, so another point I should say is Toxic Rain, before I get into the map, is pretty expensive. I have minus cost on all of my jewelry and my Watcher's Eye, and it normally would cost 14. With my flask, it goes down to 3. With the amount of attack speed we have, I feel like it's kind of necessary to get a lot of this minus mana cost, because you can't just leech the mana with this type of character, or at least I don't think I can. I don't think I hit hard enough for leech to really do anything, so it feels like I have to get the cost really low, and I'm running EB with the Divine Flesh setup for the mana cost, as well as getting ourselves a Malevolence. Ultimately, if I were to swap things around, not go EB, if I had like a rare chest and stuff, I'd probably would go for just Malevolence and Grace and not do Haste, is what I would drop if dropping the Divine Blessing. Stuff like that. Maybe I'd consider Caustic Arrow and doing like Mana Forge for having like better clear. I don't really know. But anyways, this is what the build looks like. We have a map here with some random mods that aren't too bad. Less Curse Effect is kind of like nerfs our damage a little bit, but not really. And let's go ahead and showcase this for you guys of the Toxic Rain Necromancer. I know it might sound like a joke, but trust me when I say this, this character is actually pretty legit in how much damage it gets on such a low budget. I also should go over, because I know my bow looks good, I should also go over how to craft a really nice Toxic Rainbow or any Chaos bow, because it's not hard. It's actually quite easy. It's the simple process of getting a random Thicket, Grove, Shortbow, any of the bows with a fast attack speed. Use Dread Essences. You only need Shrieking for +2 bow gems. You do that until you hit a attack speed. T2, T1 is what I went for. I hit T2. I hit T1 a couple times, but I annulled it every single time. But basically, you need to annul off any extra prefixes you have, and then just need one open suffix. And then all you have to do is simply craft Cannot Roll attacks. Exalt Slam will guarantee +1 socketed gem, and then a Hunter Slam will guarantee hit % chaos damage over time. So that's how my bow is crafted. I know it might look like a really good 5-mod bow, but it's really about a 2 divine craft once you factor in the cost of doing a Cannot Roll attack. Hunter Exalt, that is currently 120C in the current market. Early League, it's more like Hunter Exalt. Early League is probably multiple divines, right? But even then, for the value or the power level of this sort of bow, it is kind of astounding, I think. Should probably not tank that attack from him. I'm not in range, am I? No, I'm not. So that's what it looks like doing a Phoenix. Less Curse Effect kind of hurts us a little bit. It basically bricks our Despair, which is a large amount of damage, but it's not the end of the world, because we can still just kind of kill the Phoenix quite cleanly. I'd say the biggest weakness to this character, my one takeaway of things, like, if I could get an invisible skill effect to attach to Desecrate / my offerings, that would be great, because really, the hardest part about this character, in my opinion, right now, is the visuals. Like, it's hard to see past the explosions of the offerings and the Desecrate. So that's the one thing I would say is the weakness of this character, while otherwise it does quite well in most content. And I'm very well happy with this Toxic Rain character on this level of budget. Hopefully you guys found this interesting. I myself am going to consider making more attack-based necros in the future, at least with bow, because I know Asneth's Mark works so well. If I can figure out other ways to auto-do the corpse consumption, I will consider other attack-based necros. But for right now, that was my takeaway from doing Corpse Pact as an attack-based bow necro, and specifically Toxic Rain. Hopefully you guys enjoyed the video. As always, thanks for watching, Exiles, and take care, and peace out.